saying, because I had that arrogance, I've come back from US, I know programming, I'm already doing good with Pro. Why are you rejecting? What could be wrong? I said, no, we decided not to give you franchise. I said, real comfortable. I made a call to a friend to them, asked him why I was rejected. Then they said, we thought that the way he presented, he had something the community didn't like. So I said, yeah, come back. So I went back and what I just told you, I just told them exactly the same. Look, I am sorry, I apologize, I did never meant to be arrogant. This is what I want to do, this is what I want to get in. They really made me believe that I don't want to do that. And they say, okay, we'll do it only if you give me some detailed survey. That was the strength I had from DAV. Once you have the task, and then you say, and just to, that made it very beautiful. Then they gave me the franchise. Just to tell you that story, which I should have told you, when I came back from the Hawaii holiday, my boss said, look, now I have a project ready for you. I will do that. Also, the only thing I allowed me to pay from my apartment was the commuting in California was taking too long at that time also. And he said, I don't care, I'll give you a complete system at your home. And you do. You will not believe in those 3 weeks, I never took any Saturdays, Sunday. I never, in fact, there's a very good story in DAV school, or DAV college. And how many of you ever gone to DAV? I don't know. Very lovely, good to hear that. They used to tell us, before the exams, never wear attractive clothes. That was a message by our teacher, our Guruji. They used to say, because better clothes you wear, then you feel like going out. But then you want to go and impress the girls, or you want to go in that area, wherever. But if you wear a kurta pajama, as soon as you come from the college, then you will be grounded at your home and around your books. And that's the way the master used to discover. And I use a very similar principle in that place. 4 weeks I did not move out of my apartment. That was the fact that I was living in the US. 4 weeks I did not take any weekend off. I was just consistently working. And the 3rd week I called Bill and said, the software is ready. He said, are you sure? Said, yeah. Call me back to the office, pick me up, get me to the office, and I can demonstrate. And what I showed it to him, he said, look, the American programmer would have taken 8 to 10 weeks at least. In those days, at least 3 months, 8 to 12 weeks to get that delivered. So if you get into that part, you need to put yourself on that. I think that was a message. That gave me the NIT first center in Chandigarh in '88. Very soon I realized these are both the things which could be done better if at all, if this could be professionalized more. And I could do bigger than this. I could do even bigger business than this. And I got a chance to meet with the Bagrodia family, who are in traditional textile business. They have met one of those customers in Wipro, out of the 37. And they said, would you like to do a bigger job? I said, I don't have that kind of money. So we write the first check. They gave me the first check of 5 lakh rupees to start IDS. So it's called the IDS now. We got the first 5 lakhs. I burnt it in less than 4 months traveling to USA. And couldn't get any business, so the body shopping or do it, couldn't get any business. They gave me another, they said we can support you one more check, and then that's it, then we're all done. Then we're not doing the business today. On the last check, I got a first business order in Stockholm in Sweden. I'll tell you a little more about that. To go to the places in those days with limited money, I never spent it in any hotel. I never spent it on any business class travel. I spent the lowest fares. You will not believe, even in the places like Stockholm, I will go and look for a Gurdwara if I can get into a free night, because it will save me 60, 70 equivalent of euros today. In those there were no euros at that time, just so that I can get my first order in. Never had any expensive meals, never had any alcohol on those places. That was very critical in the beginning when you are doing the business of that level. I mean, all along in fact, but at that time it was very, very critical to save every time. And we got the first project, which was almost like telling the guy, hey, look, you work with me and I'll give you all the services. And we built up a team of 3 people. If you look at the IDS logo, the 3 people on the logo, which we drafted ourselves. The logo, we never paid a single penny. It was all done in sitting in the office, and this is our logo. These are the 3 people who work in the company. So those are good stories to hear now. But that's the way the business, the first business started coming in the software. Very quickly, I realized in Punjab, in Chandigarh, I was not getting people to scale up beyond 20, 25 people. And I realized I will not be able to do anything beyond that point. I was working more like a programmer again at that time. And I met with another gentleman, Dr. Simpson, whom I met because I wanted to go and spend a evening with him and understand what they do. And he said, why don't you take some books to India? I said, why would you do that? Again, that arrogance came back to my mind. Yeah, we are a programming company. We do high-tech engineering. We do high-tech. This is not. He says, you take I have no knowledge of the word called BPO, KPO, or whatever IT is. These words are not even known in those days. He says, you take these 5 books and start working on this. If you can do this in India, I think this market will be much more sustainable in the long run. And I'm amazed. The guy will be here 3 weeks from now, Chandigarh, visiting us again. He's now 80 plus. So he gave me that direction. I brought those books in my briefcase to Chandigarh, hired 5 people from NIT students, and told them, can you just keyboard them in a certain, those were whatever the softwares were, the very elementary softwares, which were not very, okay, we did that. And that opened up the business. Today in our company, there are 450 people work in the content and publishing management. And from the same books. If you look at the real sales, there's no difference from what we did in the first time, except the technology has taken many pieces of that. It has gone bigger, it has become wider. But the basic fundamental is the same. And you're doing it in a very qualitative way, a cost-saving mechanism, which now people call it BPO or ITES, many other words. And I use the same many ways in different ways, right? Which kind of grew the company from into various in a horizontal way. 900 plus people now. We do about 40 crores of turnover to 50 crores of turnover annual. I'll come to some challenges which I faced in the last 2-3 years subsequently. But it was all along a very enjoyable journey. I don't know how the time passed. I really don't know how the last 20 years or 17 years of 18 years just passed. NIT business kept growing. And I think we grew up to a point when you'll be amazed that first center we just said no. I touched at one time we were running 55 locations for NIT. 55 locations for NIT. And then it dropped down quickly down to 25. Now we've done about the same, about 25. Where I started. This is what I am. I of course, there's no other change, nothing else. It's absolutely the same. We eat the same food which you are eating 20 years back. I don't drive very fancy cars even today. I drive whatever I was driving even at that time. So the cost levels are different. There's no other change. There's absolutely nothing else changed. It changed because of that. In that aspect. And I can give you various examples and various things that will come in specifically in that area. I think 2-3 things I can mention as a summary if you were to put it together. One, I always enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed traveling to Hawaii because I wanted to do it. I enjoyed building a company because I always felt like doing it. I was always in love with that. I mean, I always wanted to. I would use the word. I love doing what I'm doing. That's the key word. I keep passing this message to you. You must fall in love if you are building a business. If you are, do not do anything if your heart is not. Your heart has to come. And then we can debate that question, how to fall in love. That's a different context altogether. You need to figure out where to fall and whom to fall in love with. But important is to fall in love with that if you want to be successful in that area. And I think the second thing which I would say or is a little bit of the balancing it with the personal thing. The balancing of personal thing is, I think many of us, when I talk to youngsters, I talk to my friends, they do business, but they struggle on the enjoyment part of it. I think all along I picked up something like I used to love traveling, always loved traveling. So my whole business model, a lot of time, if I don't say it outside from that point of view, probably the ideas got built up not because I wanted to do IT business, but I wanted to do overseas travel. So overseas travel linked to that was always giving ideas and better things. I always wanted to be in an education field in some way. I always felt strongly there's a purpose behind it. So that's why the NIT business came into my life all along. There's always that feel that I could do some personal, I could do things like that. I could go and take a session. I also say once I retire, what I do, or you go and take classes. I still feel I enjoy going and taking a class. In some way, if it is possible, even if whatever, because in the taking a technology class, you don't need to speak English. You can always the subject matter takes on the content. You can continue dealing with the content. That's another aspect of the aspect. I think. Yeah. So that was the second. There's another aspect of balancing it, like taking your family along. In many meetings, I can share the example. People used to laugh. I mean, in New York, in a Manhattan, in a business meeting, I took my daughter along. She was like 14-year-old girl. Everybody's enjoyed. I said, look, you mind? My daughter is with me. She's come. She will sit outside. They could not believe that an Indian flying in from India for a business meeting to do business as brought his daughter along. So then I say, what is wrong in meeting will take how much time you will give me? 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour. She will read your book. But after 1 hour, I will be totally lonely. I have nothing to do. And then when I do for the whole evening in a hotel. But once she's there, I have something right after that. I enjoy. I'm looking for, as soon as my meeting is over, hey, now let's go and enjoy. And that sometimes, pardon my expression, the rest of my meeting, because I was a little curious, more keen, yeah, what shows you more I was trying to. I mean, because I always felt that plays a big role. So you must pick up a purpose. You must pick up a little bit of purpose along in a personal life to build your business. Whether it's travel, whether it's your family, whether it's a little more thing, if you can synergize, it makes it very, very good.
Or whether it's golf.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that later.
Did you try some hand in Hawaii while you were there?
At that time, I'll tell you the golf story also. I could never afford golf. I always thought golf is a rich man's golf game. I thought it's some kind of a different guys who have a different breed. They breathe a different air. They only play golf. That was my impression till I was. You know that how it was. I always thought it's some rich game. I don't even look at it. I'll give you a story. I met a friend in US. His name is Mukshinder Singh. He has a travel agency. He was in those days. Sri Lanka was absolutely burning. He used to fly. He was the general stock agent for Air Lanka. Who used to send people on tourism to Colombo from Los Angeles. Which every time he will be worried, he will be nervous. One day he told me, I have an old system in my office. Can you come and help me with a little software on that? So I just was helping one weekend without charging him. What was my interest in that? If I go and do that, he will take me to a nice Indian meal because that will be free then. He will take me to his home so I can spend an evening together. That kind of was hidden interest of mine in Los Angeles County. Come and do some software for that. I had no idea what a software would be. So a software for a golf club. They told me the whole handicap calculation, how it's to be done.